Monsieur Emmanuel Puisais-Jauvin is from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, with connection to ENA, though, you know, you're an ENA alumnus. I'm sorry, I switched back to Maltese. We all know that if we were speaking about a European institute this morning, ENA is the institute that all of us training organizations look up to. So I think you are the best person placed here to speak to us about the challenges now that we are going to face sooner than I think we realize, perhaps, in the forthcoming presidency of the Council of the European Union. And he's here to speak to us about the challenges we expect to face as a public administration as we gear up to chair this presidency. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does it work? Yes?
Yes.
So, yes, as you said, I'm very, very happy to be here because it's been quite difficult to reach Malta, and I'm even more happier to be here. So I'm working at the present time at the French Foreign Office. I'm the head of the service dealing with EU domestic issues and institutional ones. And before, I was at the French Perm Rep in Brussels, in particular during the French presidency in 2008. And this is, again, this background that I've been asked by ENA to come and visit you today. So I'll try to explain to you a few challenges that you will have when running the presidency. And I'll start immediately, if it works. Yes, it does. Just starting by saying that it is, of course, the presidency of the Council of the EU, a very important moment for the member state. It is an opportunity for the member states to have a strong visibility within the EU, of course, and potentially also within the country itself. I could even say that it was the case for France in 2008, even though it was our 12th presidency since we joined the EU. But still, it was a moment of great challenges. Has the Lisbon Treaty really changed this assessment? One could think that yes, since there is the European Council that has now a major role in the EU system, running the presidency of the Council is less important than it used to be in the past. I should say that I don't really agree with this assessment because there is a very basic reason for that. The Council remains the only, with the Parliament, legislative body that negotiates. And so in this regard, it is an institution that remains absolutely critical. It is a real responsibility because you are really at the service of the other member states and you have to defend the interest of the Council. One could think that the Council is only the addition of 28 national interests. It's not the case. Of course, there are some national interests that are at stake, but there are some specific institutional interests for the Council, and it's really important to bear that in mind, because in the negotiation process, you will see, maybe some of you have already experienced that the Commission and the EP have real interest as well, not only political, but also institutional ones. And as the presidency, you are the sort of guardian of those interests for the Council. So in this context, how can a presidency be successful? Preparation is the key word. I'm sure I'm not very original by saying that. Many other people must have said the same thing before me. But I'd like to insist a little bit on that. During the presidency, you will have only 6 months, which is very short. Even if you will have the chance to have your presidency during the first semester, which makes it effectively 6 months. When you have the presidency during the second semester, in practice, you have maybe not more than 4 months that are really efficient. And it was our case in 2008. So you must be really prepared, which means in practice that the presidency really starts before the 1st January 2017, as far as you're concerned. What does it concretely mean? I hope you can read it. You will have, of course, the PowerPoint then. Well, first of all, I think that what is really important is to be clear on the files that your presidency will have to deal with. The first thing is to define your political priorities. And there is an important distinction that has to be made. A presidency, to be successful, must be impartial. That is to say that national interest must not prevail. If you do that, you will have immediate difficulties with all the other member states. But it doesn't mean that the presidency is neutral. To make this comparison, it's not like a referee on a football match, you know, which is trying to see how things go, but that doesn't have any interest in the result of the game. You have an interest. You want results, lots of them. And in our case, for instance, we decided to, in 2008, to have 4 political priorities. There were, you will not be surprised, agriculture, the first one, European defense, migration, and the last one being the energy climate package that was on the table already in 2008. So our political masters were very clear about the fact that those 4 political priorities were at the top of our presidency. And then it helped us to set up concretely the agenda. So it is, second thing, it is also, this is a recommendation, very useful to screen all the file that you will find on the table when you arrive in January 2017. It doesn't mean that you will have to deal with all the files. I'm absolutely aware of the question of resources, human resources, that will be an issue. But you have to be very clear in order to know what you will have to face when the beginning of your presidency will come. It's a difficult exercise because it's moving very quickly, in particular in the process of the co-decision. But you have to identify all the files that may come. It is, in this regard, essential to be in permanent contact with the previous presidencies, because, of course, there is a need to ensure a continuity in this regard. And you will have to adapt until the very beginning of the presidency. Be fully ready to face the unexpected. That's another thing which is absolutely crucial. Unfortunately, the recent events show how it can be the case with what happened, in particular in my country, in Paris, you know, with the horrific attacks that took place. It has become a theme on the agenda which is quite high. And for our Latvian colleagues, I know that their intention was already to address this issue, fight against terrorism, even if those horror things had not happened. But since they happened, it has become a major issue. And yesterday and even today, as you may know, it's been part of the major theme addressed during the informal so-called Justice and Home Affairs Council. So facing the unexpected is always something for a presidency. In 2008, for France, we had 3 things to face we were not ready for. The first one was the result from the Irish referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, June 2008. The second thing was, of course, the international crisis with what happened in Georgia, you may remember, during August. And the last one was the beginning of the crisis, of the economic and financial crisis, with all the things related to the Lehman Brothers crisis that started in October. And you have to be ready to face that. So it makes even more crucial to prepare everything that can be prepared beforehand. Determine the red lines of the presidency. That's another point. What is behind that? Your negotiators in Brussels will need to know exactly in which framework they can negotiate. And this needs to be clearly identified beforehand. In our example, we spent lots of time during the Portuguese presidency, so to second semester 2007, and during the Slovenian presidency, first semester 2008, to screen all the different files in order to identify where the red lines were. And why did we do that? Because in our example, but I'm not saying that it has to be this for every presidency, we didn't have any instructions from the capital during the presidency. So it was even more important for us to know what the red lines of our country were. Second thing, defined working methods. It's very important to clarify responsibilities before the start of the presidency. Who does what? And in particular, the distribution, of roles between your permanent representation in Brussels and the capital, La Valette, in your case. The role of the president of the permanent representation normally is really crucial. We are used to saying that very often the presidency is really much Brussels-based. Of course, it is for every country to define it. It's a political decision that has to be made. But in practice, it helps when the permanent representation has a real leeway in order to negotiate and, once more, to get results at the end of the day. Working methods must be clear within the perm rep as well, because things go very quickly. And so there must be a sort of chain of command which is very clear from the president chairing a working party, going via the DPR and permanent representative, the ambassador, and of course going to the highest level, which is the Council of Ministers. It has to go very quickly, to run very smoothly. And the relation, of course, with the capital is absolutely essential. First of all, you must clarify the role of the national delegation. In our case, we decided, but once more, there is no model or recipe, it's just an example. We decided that the national delegation during meetings should not speak, should remain completely silent, only in cases where there was a big national interest at stake, but otherwise this could have created some confusion. Either you follow what the national delegation says, and so there is a potential problem of impartiality, either you contradict directly your national delegation, which is politically maybe not the best thing to be done. So you have to strike a right balance. Permanent debrief from Brussels. Brussels must tell you here in La Valette everything that is going on in Brussels. And it's important because your ministers will then come to Brussels or Luxembourg to chair the meetings. So that's really, really important to make sure that the connection between the two, between the perm rep and the capital is really working. Explain to the Secretary General of the Council what you expect from them. And I think it's an important point, in particularly where there is a question of human resources. Those people have a lot of expertise, they can really help you, but you need to explain to them beforehand what you expect from them. What kind of, this can be some very practical things. What kind of papers you want them to write down for your ministers so that they are completely at ease when they come then to Brussels. We did that beforehand and it proved very useful. Then, still during the preparation, you have to be very familiar with procedural rules. It, of course, applies more to people that will be in Brussels, but it has also something to do with people that will stay in the capital. It's necessary to have a full understanding of what a presidency is. As I said before in my introduction, the presidency is always more than a single state. And something which is really crucial for a presidency is to be looked as completely confident. I've been amazed to see during the French presidency how you can expect from member states, provided you demonstrate that you know what a presidency is, that you're not there to push, in our case, the French agenda, but to be really at the service of every member state. You also must fully understand how the Council operates. That's clear. A working party is not COREPER. COREPER is not the Council of Ministers. Those different bodies have a specific role. COREPER is really the Brussels-based body by essence, which is at the interconnection of the working party and the political level. So that's a major body. As another example, you also must know what really co-decision means in your presidency. because you will see that you will spend a lot of time in trialogues, very concretely. During our presidency, I think we had more than 50 trialogues on a single package, the energy climate package. And you may also have, who knows, impossible to say today, some conciliation procedures to face. And as I'm sure you know, when there is a conciliation, this is for your minister responsible of the file to come to Brussels or Luxembourg. Have a clear understanding of the actors is also something absolutely critical. Of course, first, all the other member states, building confidence with them, and the importance of interpersonal relationship. Explain your working methods before your presidency will start. Be in touch with the Commission on a constant basis, because the experience shows that without the Commission you can't do anything. If you are working on a specific file where this is the QMV that applies and you don't know where the Commission is, you may be in a situation where the Commission just says, no, I don't agree with this compromise proposal coming from the presidency, and you know the result. It means that there is no QMV anymore, because this is unanimity when the Commission is not on board. And so if you have not made sure that the Commission can agree on the proposals you will put on the table as a presidency, you will face lots of problems, because getting unanimity is always much more difficult. The Commission plays a big role, as everybody knows, in terms of monopoly of initiative, but also in terms of technical expertise, because very often member states do really listen to what the Commission has to say on all the files. And it also has a political role, because as I said before, Commission has also its own interest. Understand the psychology of the EP. That's another thing which is, I think, very important. And all the meetings that as a presidency you will have with the various committees will be important in this regard. The European Parliament is now a very big political actor, willing to defend its own interests, and very anxious to make sure that the Council has not more power than it has as the EP. It's even more important, I should say, in the context of the Lisbon Treaty, because, as I said before, the European Council is more important than before, and the EP doesn't have any real role with regard to the European Council, whereas it has a big role with regard to the Commission, because the Commission is responsible before the Parliament, and the EP has a big role towards the Council in the codecision procedure. And last but not least, there are also other actors that must not be forgotten, like companies, GNOs, and journalists that will turn to you all the time during your presidency, and you have to be in a position to reply to their questions. Put in place an efficient administrative organization. That's also a major thing to be done beforehand. A lot of work is to be done from the capital in this regard, of course. You will have to organize various meetings and events in your country. This is really an opportunity for your country to be better known by other member states. In our case, for instance, we decided not to bring our colleagues to Paris, but to bring them to Toulouse, for instance, to show them a little bit this area, which is less familiar to people. And it was, even for us, one could think that, Brussels is so close to Paris that it's easy to go to France, but even for us, it was a good opportunity to show our country. So I can imagine in your case how important those events will be during your presidency. And it can also be very interesting on the substance. And I'd like to say a word, very quickly, a word on the informal meetings of ministers. It is an important moment for your minister, because he will show his or her counterparts, colleagues, the country, as I said. But it's also a moment that can be used and help the legislative process in Brussels. I was just referring 5 minutes ago to the informal meeting that just took place in Riga, in the Justice and Home Affairs. What they've been doing there is really helpful for the Brussels process. They adopted a declaration which will be very useful for the European Council that is going to take place on the 12th of February. And so the file in particular fight against terrorism, but also migration issues that was on the agenda of this informal meeting could be addressed, and this helps the process. So you can really rely on those informal meetings to also help your colleagues in Brussels. But you have to be careful because there are some procedural lines to be followed. In particular, there is no written conclusions during the informal meetings, and there is the question, the very sensitive question of the language. So you have to be careful about that. I will not speak about the French language. But this is a very sensitive issue. In Brussels, it's quite easy because you have rules that are written in, in the text. But as far as the informal are concerned, there is no written rules. So you have to be very careful with that. Then you have during the presidency. And sorry to be that quick, but I have to be... I don't want to be too long. During the presidency, you have some basic rules to follow. Most of them are quite obvious. Predictability. You must say what your intentions are. Nothing is worse than a presidency giving the feeling to be hesitant. Member states need guidance. What does it mean? It means that you have to explain what your goals are to member states, what your intentions are, so that they can really feel that there is a clear direction that has been set before. I've been struck to see in Brussels, during the presidency, during ours or maybe during others as well, how easily member states can get scared. Because fundamentally member states are worrying, they are wondering how things are going to evolve, in particular where there are lots of national stakes on the table. And they know really much less than you do as the presidency. They don't know what's going on, for instance, what happens during a trialogue, because they are not there. You are the presidency, you are there. And so they really rely upon you to relieve them and to show them that you are really on board, having a clear leading role. One of the very practical ways is to define some roadmaps on specific files. Here is what we're going to do. For instance, during your presidency, you will have to take care of the European semester. Defining a clear roadmap is very useful. I said, always define the goal whilst always listening to questions. And then there is a not easy balance to strike between showing that you lead, because this is what is expected from you, and at the same time showing that you are able to listen to what is told, to the concern that may be expressed by the member states in particular. So there is a mix of firmness on the one hand and of flexibility of the other, which is, according to me, very important. Transparency, another thing which is very important. In French, we say, tout se sait à Bruxelles. Everybody knows everything in Brussels. Maybe not at the same moment, but everybody knows everything in Brussels, because people are talking to everyone all the time. So it's important for a presidency to make sure that you control the communication channel. If I take again the example of a trialogue, once the trialogue has happened, very often an MEP can, have a declaration to the press, giving his or her personal assessment of the result of the trialogue. And member states will, of course, know that. They will, and they can have the impression, on the basis of what will be said, that the presidency has just not done its job. So it's important for you to come back very quickly to the member states, to explain to them how things went during the trialogue, in order to make sure that there will not be this confusion in the messages. So that's an important thing. Work with the Secretary General of the Council. I already touched upon it. Be in constant liaison with other institutions. I spoke a little bit about it before. The role of the Commission, that it's only an expression, of course, that holds the qualified majority, because as I said, if the Commission says, no, I don't want your compromise, there is no qualified majority anymore. And when you want to build a compromise, which is by essence what a presidency does, you need to know where the Commission is. Essential role of the EP, I spoke about it, and also bilateral meetings with other member states. That's very helpful. It can prove very useful to organize, if you have time to do that, some bilateral meetings in order to better understand what difficulties of member states are. We did it, for instance, on the energy climate package in 2008. We met, I think, 3 times, all the member states in order to clearly understand the difficulties that each member state had on this package. I remember very well the bilateral we had with Malta, explaining to us all the difficulties with regard in particular with renewables. And it was very helpful for us to understand that. So just an idea, but don't hesitate to do it if you have the time. And you can do it from Brussels, you can do it from the capital, either ways are possible. Coordination with the capital is crucial, even during the presidency, in order to ensure a proper association with colleagues of the capitals. I put a question mark for instructions because, as I said, it's really a political decisions to be made, but I told you how we did it in the French case. And of course, many meetings have to be organized in full conjunction with the capitals. What we did during our presidency was to have lots of visio conferences with Paris in order to keep them in the loop all the time. And of course, when you have conciliation and your minister comes, it's even more important. Ensure a full fluidity vertically from the working party to the council. So this is the importance of the chain of command in Brussels and in the capital, in particular with regard to Coreper. I will not comment upon it, but anti-cheese and Mertens in the Parliament are a real important resource for the capital and for Brussels. They are really the people that can explain to you exactly where we are on a file and how things are evolving. Of course, the DPR and PR can do that, but they will be very busy during the presidency. The case of trilogues with EP, important thing to know, that it's really the place where the compromise is built. And I should really recommend you to assist for those of you who will be in Brussels, to assist to trilogues during the previous presidency, because there is a possibility to do that with the member states running the previous presidency. As a conclusion, presidency is always a challenge, in particular when it is the first one. I see the point, but as I said in introduction, in our case, it was the 12th presidency, and you can't imagine how big the pressure was on our shoulders during the second semester 2008. Our president of the time, Mr. Sarkozy, had many great ideas that he wanted to put on the table, first of all. And second, it's really part of our history, but we needed to demonstrate to all the colleagues within the EU, to all the other member states and other institutions, that regardless of the result we had in France in 2005 during our referendum, we were still completely committed to the EU. And our presidency was viewed at the time by our political masters as a real opportunity to really convince other member states and other institutions that we were completely committed. So the pressure was really big on our shoulders. Second, and I hope I will not have frightened you with my intervention, there is a lot of things to be done, but you are not alone. This is a collective, really a collective adventure. And provided you are clear, as I said, on your priorities, where you want to go, you will see that member states will really rely on you. They will really view you as having real capable hands, as we say, and you will be in a position to expect a lot from them, I don't know if I should tell you this story, but we even managed, and I'm not very proud of that, but we even managed to organize in Brussels the longest Coreper in the whole history of the EU. that started a Friday morning, I remember that very well, at 9 o'clock, and that finished on Saturday morning at 6 o'clock. And I was telling myself all the time, somebody's going to stand up and say, finished, we can't stand this anymore. But still, everybody remained in place. Of course, there was some rotation because people needed to rest. And one point was addressed, during, at last until 9 o'clock in the evening. So we took the second point on the agenda at 10 o'clock. And of course, I'm not recommending to do that. That's a terrible thing to be done. But it illustrates the fact that provided colleagues know what you want to do, they are ready to accept a lot. The key thing is to build confidence. And as I said, basic rule is really to try to find the right balance between authority. We expect from you authority, from every member state authority, and also ability to listen to everyone. Be ready for the unexpected. You always have to adapt anyway. I'm totally unable to tell you where the EU will be in 2017, but something tells me that lots of things could happen till this moment. It's quite far in a certain way, but it's quite close at the same time. And that's the reason why it's always necessary to adapt. Last but not least, enjoy the presidency. I'm not surprised to hear you laugh after all this intervention, but please trust me, it's a great pleasure. It's really a great moment in your career, whether you are in the capital or in Brussels. And I must even say, to be absolutely honest, that I'm even from time to time looking forward to the next French presidency in 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was, of course, extremely insightful, and I think we'll carry it with us over the next 2 years. I know we're running rather late, so I don't know if there were any comments. If there aren't, I think I would kindly ask the Principal Permanent Secretary to bring the day to a close.
Wara di l-ġurnata naħseb għandna l-fejn kunu sodisfatti wkoll. Il-kuntatt mhux se jinqata', jiġifieri ġewwenna ta' kemm qalt li se jkollna l-kopja tal-presentations tar-rapporti li ġie ħarġu mill-workshops, se nkunu qed nifluhom, se nkunu qed inkomplu fuqhom, se nkunu qed niltaqgħu magħkom iktar il quddiem biex nelaboraw fuq dak li tkellimtu. Se nkunu qed nieħduhom in konsiderazzjoni f'affarijiet għax is-suġġetti ma ntażlux għal xejn. Se nkunu qed naħduhom in konsiderazzjoni f'deċiżjonijiet li jridu jittieħdu. Min-naħa l-oħra rridu naħdmu wkoll u għalhekk ġibna lil nies jitkellmuna fuq il-kef u fuq il-presidenza. Dawn huma żewġ sfidi. Il-kef din is-sena definittivament irridu nibdew fuqha jew xi ħaġa simili fejn tidħol il-presidenza. Mhux naħseb, diġà bdejna ninkwetaw fuqha. Emnuni li qegħdin tard fis-sens li rridu naħdmu iktar biex nilħqu l-miri li hemm bżonn. Għalkemm suppost għandna nieħdu gost biha u l-aħħar rakkomandazzjoni tiegħu emnuni toħduhx bis-serjetà. Wara 12 darba tagħhom illum qed jgħidha. Imma rridu nagħmlu ħilitna kollox fuq kollox isem pajjiżna hemm. Nirringrazzjakom, niltaqgħu is-sena d-dieħla.